Hey, uh, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our Together Thursdays, your platform to, connect, learn, and grow. And today we have with us for the session Raksha Sudhindra. So Raksha is an engineer by education and an energy worker by calling, with over 15 years of corporate experience and 6+ years of catalyzing personal and systematic transformations. She is the founder of Madilu, a community built around circular economy, matriarchal leadership, alternative education systems, and conscious parenting. She offers some great programs and likes a feminine leadership program and the inner healing the inner child, about which she's going to walk us through in today's session. Over to you, Raksha.
Hello, all. Welcome. First of all, thank you for choosing some time for yourself. I hope at the end of this session, you'll start looking at yourself with more attention and for truly who you are. So, hopefully, this will help you get there. Thank you, Wequity, for the opportunity. This is my second engagement with them, and it's always a pleasure working with them. I am Sri Raksha Sudhindra. Like Divya already introduced, I am the founder of Madilu. Madilu in Kannada means the mother's lap. So it is a space for transformations in absolute safety. So she already briefed you about feminine leadership, very different from women leadership. Leading from the feminine is what I deal with. And inner child healing, we will learn a lot more about. And let's get started then. All of you can see my screen, right? So we'll start off with a very simple question. So, if you had never looked at yourself in the mirror or hadn't seen photographs of yourself, or you don't have there is no reflective surface, there are no mirrors, you've never seen your own reflection, and somebody asked you, what do you look like? Who are you? What are you? How would you describe yourself? You've never seen what you look like. You don't know what your eye looks like, what your nose looks like. Nothing. That's when you start relying on what your parents and your environment has told of you. So if, let's say, if you grew up in a tribal environment, there would be a very different description of your nose. For example, maybe in South India, a sharp nose. It's really good. You have a very pretty nose. But maybe somewhere else, a rounded nose is prettier, and they would say, you have a great rounded nose, you look very pretty. And here it may not be um, that approved. So they say, you have a very stubby, not so great nose. So you understand what I'm getting to here. So all of these descriptions of good, bad, accepted, not accepted, how you look, what you are, everything, you start forming some view about yourself based on your first reflections around you. And this reflection could be your parents, teachers, the environment you grew up in. Everything matters. Every little thing, the experiences you went through when you were growing up, where you formed a view about yourself, that's what decides how you see yourself. And the mirror on the wall, why I have named it that way, is how was that mirror for you? What did it show? And is it truly who you are? That's what we're going to explore today. I call the inner child as our true blueprint. Just like a seed, when you have a seed and you sow it into the soil, it knows, it has the blueprint. If you sow an apple tree, there is an apple seed, there is an apple tree that's going to come out of it. You won't get an orange tree, right? So in the same way, within you, the inner child is your most authentic self, and it's your blueprint of who you truly are. And I love this quote from Carl Jung: the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. If you can actually realize who you truly are and actually grow from your blueprint, I think that's a life that is well lived. Now, having said that, every child every human has some core needs. I think most of you would have heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Is there anybody who's heard this? Can I get a show of hands? You have a hand symbol in there, right? Has anybody heard of it? So Maslow's hierarchy of need is something. It's if you notice, it's in the form of a pyramid. So it's very simple. When the basic need below in the lower step gets addressed, you are safe to go to the next need, and then that gets fulfilled. You are gonna go to the next need, and once that's fulfilled, you the last part is self-actualization. So if you see, it starts with the most basic physiological need: air, water, food, shelter, all of this. Then comes the safety needs: emotional safety, financial safety, and all of these basic safety, physical safety, all of this. Then comes the love and belonging. And at different ages, all of this develops. I think for a small baby, it's very clear it has its physiological needs and safety needs. Later, as it grows into an toddler stage, there is a sense of love. And when they get into probably 6 to 10 years of age is when they go into belonging, where there is friendship, they want to be accepted. And then when they are teenagers, it gets into esteem. They want to be respected. They have a sense of self. They have a sense of recognition and so on. And as an adult, we want all of this to be fulfilled to actually move into self actualization. That is, reach your true potential. But more often than not, you'll see that at each stage, your needs, are they addressed, or how they're addressed from your environment shapes you as an identity. Let's get to the next one and see how this happens. From needs to identity. Now we spoke about needs, right? So you have belonging, safety, love, worth. All of these are your core needs. Then you have your environment that you grew up in. So either this was beautifully met, sometimes ignored, sometimes shamed, sometimes it was conditional. You kind of conform to my needs. I will fulfill your needs, else I will not. Or it's inconsistent. Sometimes people are available to fulfill it, sometimes they're not. So there is an environment response that you have for each of these needs. And then from those responses comes adaptation. Now, how do you adapt? Each person adapts to that response differently. Some people will control, they will demand for their needs to be met. Some children will withdraw. I don't want to get into trouble. I don't want to get into conflicts. They will withdraw. Some children will perform extremely well so that whatever was conditional, they get the environment response, that need is met. Some people protect themselves. They will form a wall and not be accessible. So each one will adapt to the environment response. And then this adaptation slowly becomes a coping mechanism. So every time there's a conflict, maybe you want to resolve it immediately, or you want to control the narrative, or you want to withdraw. So each time when you repeat these adaptations, it becomes a coping mechanism for survival. And then comes the identity. I'm an introvert. I am a leader. I am ambivert, or you could say I'm somebody who is very good, works very great under pressure. These were all basically your environment response and adaptation, which became a coping mechanism. And now it becomes, this is just who I am. It slowly becomes your identity. Now, this is the identity that runs your destiny. You may feel it's a very small thing, happened long ago in my childhood. But very beautifully, again, Carl Jung says, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. So you're continuously responding in the same way that you did as a child, even when the environment has changed, even when you have needs and it can be fulfilled and you have all the facilities and the resources available for you to fulfill that need. If you're unconsciously responding the same way in the environment, how the environment responded to you and how you adapted in childhood, even in adulthood, when you continue into it, you will call it fate. So what happens then? If you don't understand those adaptations and you're not aware, your triggers you call it stress. Your coping mechanism is your, and I'm extremely independent. I'm extremely good under pressure. I love challenges. All these becomes identities. And all these unconscious patterns which you respond to based on this identity becomes fate. So basically, your unconscious inner child is running the show. Just gonna go to the next one. So what I have done essentially is picked four main archetypes that I see very commonly, which become identities, like the perfectionist, the overthinker, the hyper independent, and so on. I've picked four archetypes which are very common, and we'll understand more on what was the core need there and what did the environment respond to. How did you adapt as a child if you have this personality? And what can you do to replace the core belief there? So we'll have a look at that. And the first one is the perfectionist. Now, what was the need of this perfectionist? Unconditional love and acceptance, and forgiveness and pardon when mistakes were made. Now, this need, how did the environment respond? It was conditional acceptance and love based on performance. For example, you were supposed to get really good grades. Otherwise, there would be repercussions. You were not allowed to go on vacations, maybe, or you were reprimanded or hit. So these are the conditional acceptance and love based on your performance. How well were you doing something? Or rejection or punishment over mistakes. If you were never allowed to make mistakes, let's say you had to get 100% of marks, or even if, let's say, you spilled water by mistake, but you had extreme reactions for that. There was punishment over mistakes. You're scared to make mistakes, right, as a child, and it continues into adulthood. It shows up as perfectionism. How does it show up as an adult? How did you adapt? All or nothing thinking. Feeling pushed by fear than the feeling of success. I would rather do really well because I'm scared to fail than letting myself enjoy if I'm successful. And procrastination. You keep pushing till the last minute, and then you do a fantastic job. This is a classic sign of being that perfectionist. Sometimes you don't even take risks to try new things because you want to be good immediately. You're not okay making mistakes in the start and learning from it. These are the kind of people who stay in the same roles, who go deep into subjects, and they don't want to explore too many new things because they are scared they may not be good at it. And no matter how good they're at it, they still feel not good enough. So, another symptom which I haven't listed here is of imposter syndrome. No matter how much you do, you're scared that you may make mistakes and you're not fully perfect. And you ask for help, but you're not easily satisfied with the results because they have to be flawless. Now, what is the core belief here? The core belief is mistakes are a measure of my worth. But what is the reparenting belief? I will come to what reparenting is, but for now, let's call it the flip in the story. A mistake is just an event, it is not my identity. This will be a disentangling the core belief of tying the mistakes to your worth. So, this is all about the perfectionist. I'm sure some bells would have rung here. We will go to the next one, which is the good boy or the good girl syndrome. This is again a very common thing I see even parents now proliferating it to their children. If something is done, they say, you're a good boy, you won't do this. If you're a bad girl, you're going to do this. The event, let's say a child did something bad, the child becomes a bad girl. Instead of saying, you're great, but what you did was not okay, it becomes a part, all the deeds become a part of your identity. And what were the core needs of this child? Approval, a sense of belonging, and a safety and continuity in connections. But how would the environment around respond? If the child did not conform to what was expected of them, there is a lot of guilting, like you're such a bad boy, you didn't do this, or you're such a bad girl, you didn't follow this. Rejection when not conforming, that silent treatment, or being punished when you are not conforming to the rules put. And another common trait, or the environment they grew up in where this syndrome is high, is early parentification. Either you're the oldest child or the only child where you had to take care of your own needs, and you didn't have safe adults who could understand your needs and provide a sense of belonging. So, this is the environment which creates this, and the needs are not met, and creates the good boy and the good girl syndrome. Now, what does this look like? How does the adaptation look like in adult life? Lot of discomfort simply because somebody did not agree with on something you said, or you were not liked by someone. You don't want to be on anybody's bad books. And especially, you parentify any authority figure, your boss, probably somebody from the school, your teachers were like your parentifying authority figure. You want to follow every rule that's set. You don't want to break any rules and get on the wrong side. You yearn to be recognized and to be praised by such authority figures. Like, you would want your boss to recognize all that you do. And there's a lot of discomfort if there is a disagreement with your boss. And you'll shrink yourself, and you will never say what you truly feel just to be liked by somebody. There's a lot of deep discomfort with conflicts. And these are the kind of people who, if anybody is upset in the room, want to go and fix that immediately almost, and does more than what's required, even if it's not under their control. And they control everyone's mood. They want to keep everyone happy. This is the kind of traits that you would show as an adult. What is the core belief here? If I disappoint, I lose that person, lose that connection, and that feels very unsafe. So you, at your own cost, you can please everyone. This is also the people pleaser kind of behavior. Now, what is the flip in the script? What is the reparenting belief? Reparenting belief is, I can choose myself and I can still belong. It's not true that people will cut connection from me if I'm myself. This is a starting point for this. Now, let's go to the next one. This is the hyper independent. Now, the core needs were physical and emotional support, trust and connection, attention. And what did the environment give them? Unreliable or unstable support systems. Sometimes they're available, sometimes they're not. Probably the abuse of trust. You trusted them so much, but then they didn't come through, or some abuse of trust has happened. Neglect or inattention, maybe not intentionally, but you were an only child, or you grew up with parents who were too busy doing things, maybe who were stationed in different cities from where you were growing. So such environments also cause this hyper independence. And growing up alone, like I said, maybe an only child. In my case, I am an only child, and this is something that I saw in myself, that I'm very hyper independent. Now, what is adaptation? You may feel that this is absolutely okay. There's nothing wrong with this. No, what's there? How does it show up? It's shame when you want to ask help when you really need it also, because it's perceived as incapability. And even while you have seek help, you have a plan B, plan C in your head, or you will ask somebody to do something within 2 minutes. If it's not done, you'll go get up and do it. I was guilty of doing this a lot. And there's a lot of pride in being independent. And there's a lot of difficulty in delegating. And in extreme cases, there's burnout. There's constant stress because your body is always wound up. And these are the kind of people who will have a lot of shoulder aches, back aches, chronic aches and pains. So this is how hyperindependence shows up in your body and in your identity. What is a core belief? If I need help, I am weak. Help is not available. Reliable help is not available. What is the reparenting belief? Strength and support can coexist. And the other thing is, it is safe to ask for help, and help is available. Let's go into the last one, the overthinker. This is another common one that I see, especially amongst women. Their core needs were physical and emotional safety and stable connections. What did the environment provide? If they had unstable, emotionally reactive parents or teachers, when anything was expressed, when somebody cried, they said, "Don't cry. You're not a strong girl if you don't cry, if you cry." Like beliefs where they were not, environments where they were not able to express themselves fully, and early loss of a parent figure. There has been continued physical or emotional abuse, bullying in schools, manipulative relationships, where you would be bribed into doing things, or people told you, "I have your secrets and I will, expose it if you don't do what I tell you." Things like this, manipulative relationships or bullying. How do you adapt? You make multiple scenarios in your head for every single thing. Let's say you've sent out a message and then somebody hasn't replied. You have 10 different stories in your head. You're constantly worried or anxious, and you're fixating on things which are not even in your control. How they perceive you, how are they going to reply to you, what time they're going to reply to you. Everything you're trying to fixate on things out of your control. Catastrophizing. This is worst case scenario all the time. Instead of anything else, you will directly jump to worst case scenarios. Black and white thinking. I'm fully good or I'm fully bad. You cannot see gray or in between possibilities, neutral possibilities. And hypervigilance, overreading even the micro expressions. What is the core belief here? I must control uncertainty to feel safe. I don't want surprises. These are the kind of people who won't even enjoy a surprise if thrown at them without them knowing. What is a reparenting belief? The fact that events turn out more neutral than my mind predicts. So go back and anchor in so many events in your life where you have considered the worst case scenario, but it has always been better than you had imagined. So this is a anchoring belief. Now that we have seen these four archetypes, what do you do? Now you know all of this. Now what do I do with it? I have given a very, very, I would call a starting point. This is something that you can do as a reparenting process, but this is something that has to be consistent and it comes with practice. But it is just a little bit for you to take back. When there is a trigger or a pattern that I have described, notice what happens. First, name what it is. So let's say your house help has not done things the way you want it. What is the need? You needed reliability. You needed control. Name the need. What was the need? You wanted to be held and understood. Then what do? You regulate. Regulation is the most understated superpower that you can do. And what does it mean? Remember, always, all of these patterns emerge in your body first. You first have to ground your body. Slow breaths bring awareness to how you're feeling in the body, and then ground the body. What does ground the body means? You move from your head into your body. The attention falls from the head into your body. How you're feeling, deep, slow breaths. And then, with this little bit of distance between that trigger emotion and being in your body, there is a little distance that you create. With this distance, look at it and respond differently. One small different action. Now, something has not been done the way you want it. Instead of directly going into the mode of yelling or telling this person, "Why didn't you do this?" Blah, 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 blah. One small aligned action would be, what happened? This is not the way I asked this to be. A small thing, instead of assuming what happened and correcting it, one small aligned action of what happened, a question instead of a reaction, that itself is going to start rewiring the brain. And reassure. This is the part of reparenting where your inner child is reacting, that hurt child is reacting all the time to the world. Step in, because now there's a gap. This adult you saying, "I've got you. You don't have to worry. We got this. Let's work through this. Let's ask for help." A little bit of reassurance. And you can do this for every pattern or trigger that you see. And this is not a one time thing, it's something that you can practice over and over again. I'm at the end of whatever I had to give you. And I also wanted to take a little bit of time to talk about. I have a reparenting community in Madilu. If you would like to be part of it, I do a lot of interactive polls and lot of information sharing on the WhatsApp group. And anything new that I start or post about inner child healing and reparenting is also published here. You can scan this link and be a part of that community. I'm going to leave this on the screen just for a little bit so that if you're interested, you can quickly scan and be a part of this. If you have any questions, you can start putting it in the chat. And Divya, maybe you can help me um, get those questions.
Sure, Raksha. Thank you very much for the insightful session, and I think that's a whole lot of things to leave us with and reflect upon, right? So, thank you
Yeah.
for that, and yeah, it's open to questions now, and either you can just
Um,
feel free to unmute yourself, because I don't see any questions put there on the chat. While I see on the chat, we have put up our, the registration form for the session next week, which is going to be a Women's Day special. So request all to go there and sign yourself up for the next week session. So
there
yeah,
is also my LinkedIn and my Instagram. And I wanted to quickly also pull up and also show you that there's a 21-day series of very, very clear steps on how to go about this. If you, I will just quickly share that screen of mine. If you can you see my Instagram?
yeah,
Yeah. So this is 21-day series that I did on deep diving into the inner child journey and how you want to go about this. So feel free to access that, and you'll find this very insightful on how to go about it, how to start, and all of that.
sure. Thank you, Raksha. So any questions from the group?
I also want to tell you about the LinkedIn, and here I write about feminine leadership, and it's very different from the masculine template that we are often used to in the corporate scenario. And you can also take a look at that. I usually do both nightly write ups here on LinkedIn. Um, for whoever is there, if you can scan the Menti code here and give a feedback.
So we have also put up our feedback form, which you could just fill and share with us. This will help us, continuously improvising sessions in the future too. So, any
I'm just
questions?
okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Um, have you? Okay. I've just moved um, into the responses. Any takeaways? Please do share. All right. I think
Okay. I think,
that's about it from my
yeah,
side.
I don't see any questions on the chat either. So yeah, I think thank you very much, Raksha, and that was such an insightful session. And hope you work your charm to to heal many other people all along the way, and all the best to all your future endeavors. And thank you very
Thank
much
you
for your
so
time.
much, Divya and Wequity, and I hope it was useful in more ways than one. Looking forward to more sessions like this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you all. Have a good day ahead. Bye.